Welcome back to the Who's Yanks. We have a new other Who's Yanks talking Canada soccer and U.S. soccer. And today, yes, it's being recorded the day after this game. We're talking about the final tune-up match for the U.S. women's national team against Colombia and their final preparation for the CONCACAF all-important double qualifier tournament. Reminder that the CONCACAF tournament is the double qualifier for the 2023 Women's World Cup, by the way, next year in Australia, New Zealand. And then again in 2024 for the Olympics in Paris. So all important, everything is on the line here for the USA. And obviously, I mean, they're expected to qualify for both, given how they are arguably the powerhouse of not only the world but just CONCACAF in general, along with Canada and even rising other teams like Mexico and others. So, nonetheless, the U.S. will be defaulted to qualify, and that means, one slip up, one mistake, and one of these games coming up could cost them. And this is why these two games against Colombia were all important to not only to rotate the lineup, which is why tonight or yesterday there was actually a different lineup than the first night in Colorado, but also to just keep in mind get everybody experience playing against a low block, which is what Colombia played, and they did it well again today. I don't know if I said the score line, but the game ended 2-0 in favor of the USA. But once again, Colombia put up a great fight. Once again using their low block, and you just gotta tip your hat to Colombia. They just really made it frustrating for the USA once again to break down and really get inside the back lines and really create some good attacking chances. As the USA, I mean, they had some shots, but once again, it's just Colombia just coming up strong, and the defense is not taking any chances. But that's what this game was so important for in Sandy, Utah. And yeah, final tune-up match, and I'll give my opinion on it. But right now, let's go ahead and talk about the starting 11 for the game that happened yesterday. So in net, this is why we had 9 lineup changes compared to the game in Colorado. And so in net, we have Alyssa Nair, then we have Ashley Sanchez, Sofia Huerta, Lindsey Huron. We have a new one, I think I said in the lineup before, Naomi Germa. Then we have Alex Morgan, Emily Sonnet, Megan Rapinoe, the woman, the myth, the legend, I should say, Rose Lavelle, Mitch Purse, and Carson Pickett. So Carson Pickett and Naomi Germa, the two lineup changes there that really stand out in terms of new names being called into this. As remember in the last video, I did go into the new names that were being called into this camp and for the tournament. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about the game, and we'll see how they did. As Vlatko Andonovski also said, the main reason why I remember he was going to do squad rotations is because, we need to get a look at a well-rounded squad and make sure we have a good look at everybody and see how well they play and who we could probably play in most of the games coming up, as well as you need a good rotation, especially in the CONCACAF tournament, as you're talking about a game once every 3 days on average. And some of them can be even sooner, maybe once every 2, depending on quarterfinals, semifinals, and deeper you progress into the tournament. But the group stages, you're talking about a game on average every 3 days. And yeah, it's important to have good shifts from your players. I mean, you don't want to burn them out. You don't want to use as it's obviously use one player too much more than the others. I mean, even though it does get them experience, but you also want to make sure everybody's getting a decent chance as well as getting enough rest, which is most important. But nonetheless, this is what this game was for, and this was a good simulated game, as the first game happened 3 days ago, and the next game, obviously the last game happened yesterday, so about similar to what you would see in the group stage when the USA plays when they start their CONCACAF journey on the 4th of July, by the way, American Independence Day, which that would be a really good showing, hopefully they put on there for the US on that day. So we'll see how they do there, but right now let's talk about the game that finished up last night. The goals were scored. There were 2. First one coming in the 22nd minute. There was an own goal actually for Colombia. This was really unfortunate as Sofia Huerta swung in a beautiful ball into the havoc zone, the box, but it ends up deflecting off of Venegas' head for Colombia and into her own net for an unfortunate own goal for Colombia, but a well-worked play for the USA, and it's already 1-0 just like that. I mean, it did take 22 minutes, and then again, Colombia, I mean, once again, making it really hard. So even then, a U.S. player didn't score this, but I mean, Colombia still, I mean, I know this stings, but this was, I mean, they've really dug their heels in this game. This was improvement for them, which I'll talk about later on. But This is the fifth own goal of the year. This is just a fun fact stat for the USA. A fifth own goal this year alone. I believe 3 of those came against New Zealand. Majority of them came against New Zealand when they played back in earlier this year. But this is also the most in 25 years against any opponent. Ouchies, ouchies. But hey, if you're the USA, you don't complain. You take anything you can get, right? Own goal, deflected goals scored by in the run of play, anything you can get. If it goes in, it goes in, and that's what happened here. And I'm pretty sure they said the USA is not. They weren't complaining, especially given how Colombia made it really difficult to break them down and to really get in the back lines and really find success. So I'm pretty sure the USA would take this one all day, and they did. So it was 1-0, and then halftime came. Just once again, Colombia looking better than last game, arguably in my opinion, on playing a low block against a more experienced, you can say, more experienced U.S. lineup that happened. I don't know, Megan Rapinoe came off the bench last game. She started today. A few other players, Alex Morgan also started. But arguably, Colombia is just putting up a better fight against a more experienced lineup for the USA than they did last game, which that says a lot for Colombia, which is why these 2 games you need to really hold your, if you're a Colombia fan, hold your head high, as you guys played really well, and that's something you can obviously take back down to your qualifiers, and best of luck in your South American qualifiers for, I believe you're qualifying for both tournaments as well. But at Colombia, they looked really well. But then the 77th minute, keep in mind, there was a long lightning delay, which is why I also decided to record the video today rather than immediately yesterday, because I was too tired to do it after that. I was like, we waited for quite a bit long time, about an hour before play resumed, and I was like, I don't know if I want to make a video tired, as obviously making tired videos tired does not really look well for the video. So it makes it look sloppy and sluggish, which is why just wait till today. It's no big deal, in my opinion. Still going to talk about the game. Still going to talk about everything that happened. So the lightning delay, I just want to put that in real quick, is why the video was being recorded today. But shortly after the lightning delay, which the big question from one of the announcers even said, what can Vlatko Andonovski do? Because this is a perfect opportunity to really show the USA to really get on them about how to break down a low block. And sure enough, because keeping to this mind, before the lightning break, if I can say that right, the lightning delay, Colombia kept making the USA frustrated and kept kept delaying them from getting in their back line. And everything was going well. It looks like they're just going to ride off to a 1-0 game. But the lightning delay happened, and Vlatko Andonovski took this time to really get on the players of the U.S. and say, look, we've got to find a way back, because this is unacceptable in the U.S.'s eyes, right? Because the USA, this is what they're going to face in the CONCACAF tournament. And a lot of the teams are going to be playing low block teams, which I believe I went over the teams for the USA, and a lot of them can play really well too. And so this is why this game, or these 2 games, I should say, were really important. Not only because we've seen Korea play a low block, as we saw with Canada as well. We also saw other teams. We saw Nigeria play low block. We saw Jamaica. Obviously, we saw Uzbekistan try to do it, but that went south. But there's other teams in that kind of fear that just try to play a low block, and you can tell, especially once they played it well, they just really, really frustrated the U.S. and really, really made it difficult for them to get anything their way. And that's why this game was important. But in the 77 minutes, so literally 2 minutes after the lightning delay is over, Ashley Sanchez delivers a beautiful ball to Trinity Rodman, who then lays it off, but it bounces around to the box to Kelly O'Hara, and she does a one-time strike from a volley, and it flies into the back of the net for a golazo. That's a golazo. That's 2-0 USA shortly after the lightning delay. And in terms of Vlatko Andonovski, did he get the answer he was looking for? I believe so. Immediately after, the USA finds a way to put a second one in the back of the net, just by breaking down the low block. But after that, that's pretty much it. The USA would probably have a lot of chances. Especially in the second half, they had a lot of chances, but Colombia's defense, just top notch this game. They were really well, and kudos to Colombia. Once again, that's all you can do is tip your hat to Colombia, who played. They played like awesome. I just can't do it justice. They played really well. And it definitely was. I'm happy with how they test the U.S. team this window for friendly. So good preparation, good preparation. And as I said, Colombia, if you're a fan, hold your head up high. You guys played really well, and as I said, this is nothing to be ashamed about. You held the USA to 3 goals in the first one, and then even 2 in the second one. So I see improvement, and especially against arguably one of the more experienced lineups that the USA put out too. So massive improvement, or I say massive improvement, but good improvement for Colombia. It's just definitely great. I mean, that's a lot you can take away from that despite losing. A lot you can take away from that, positives galore for that for Colombia. So good test for Colombia, good test for the USA too for trying to break down a low block, as they said. But the end of the match does happen, and that's pretty much it. And then let's go to our stats. As the USA had 18 shots, Colombia had 6. 5 of those 18 shots for the USA were on target, while 2 of the 6 for Colombia. 65% possession was enjoyed by the USA to Colombia's 35% possession. 506 passes completed to 291 passes completed. 84% pass accuracy to 68% pass accuracy. 9 fouls to 7. 2 yellow cards to none. No red cards or offsides in this game. And 5 corners to 4. And as you can say, the USA, I mean, once again, in the second game in a row, they did everything they could. They put shot after shot, but 5 of the ones and then went on target. And even then, I mean, you just got to credit Colombian defense. Like Alex Morgan had one that looked like it was going to go in, but the Colombian defender, one of them, just headed away off the line too. So chances like those, Colombia just stood firm, dug their heels in once again, and just tried to keep the United States off the score sheet as much as possible. And if you're a Colombia fan, as I said, I would call these 2 games a success, especially this game. I mean, this one was obviously a lot more. I mean, I don't know if it was a lot more better, but it was definitely better. I mean, in terms of who you went up against. So definitely, as I said, you take a lot away from this game, especially. And use this as, I think they'll be fine. They're going to obviously be one of the best teams in South America. With Brazil, they are going to cause a lot of havoc in their qualifiers, and I do expect them, given how the way they played, if they continue to play like that, they might qualify for both tournaments as well. So keep up the good work, Colombia. But in terms of the U.S., as I said, this was another game breaking down the low block. And as I said, yes, I mean, Vlatko and Nasty was fairly disappointed with the result, as USA only put 2 goals past Colombia. And once again, the low block, which is what I said earlier, it's going to be a very, very familiar setup and tactic to what other teams are going to use in the CONCACAF tournament. And that's why it's so important for the USA to find ways to break down these back lines and really find some chances to really get in the score sheet. Because if not, I mean, you can easily have a game where, a team could sit back, just defend, and then they get that one counter chance. They get their one shot, and they capitalize. And the USA, if they can't score, boom, the USA could be eliminated like that. Or even better yet, if let's say if you get in the latter rounds of the tournament, you can get extra time. If you can't get anything in extra time, you're up to penalties. And it's just a matter of who's the best goalkeeper at that point and who's the best shooter. So, yeah, a lot of things can go south if the USA does not improve on the low block. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, this was fairly decent, but as I'm saying, they can do better. I personally believe they can do better, as well as maybe a few other people. Vlatko and Inoski says they can do better. So, looking forward to see what they can muster up come, especially 4th of July, which is their first game. And there are some opponents that they might just steamroll over, if I can say that. But there's also some opponents that just can play a low block really well, especially teams like Costa Rica, Mexico to an extent, although Mexico might be trying to push and get something once the USA does cross past Mexico. But nonetheless, I mean, this is going to be a really, really quality test for the USA. So we'll see how that goes. But this game and the last game are mainly about, once again, practicing against breaking down low block tactics. As we saw with Korea, as I said, other teams do it too. So this game, I mean, yes, I'm glad the USA especially found a way after it took a lightning delay for Vlatko and Inoski to really share what he saw and really express how he believed that the USA could put the ball in the back of the net, and it worked 2 minutes after. So the lightning delay, to an extent, did help, and I'm pretty sure down in Mexico there's going to be water breaks. So maybe if the USA doesn't break it down to Vlatko and Inoski's satisfaction, he could use the water breaks as well as he did with the lightning delay to really drive it home and really try and get something going for the USA. But nonetheless, the story of this game, I mean, Most importantly, the most important takeaways aside from the low blocks was you want a well-rounded squad. So as Vlad Gonansky said, you want to get a look at every single player, not just your main 11, as you want everybody to have a chance and really try and improve themselves as well as see if they're worthy to make it on the starting 11. And B, most importantly, just prep, as they said, for low block especially. So those two takeaways from these friendlies, win, loss, or draw, really didn't matter. I mean, they're exhibitions, they're friendlies. And what does matter is the big tournament, as they said, that qualifies as a double qualifier. So we'll see how that goes. But on side note, you saw the U.S. under-20s have officially yesterday qualified for the World Cup, I believe, which is going to be at the year is 2024 in Indonesia, I believe, or maybe 2023 in Indonesia, I believe. One of those, but it should be a good year. Yes, next year in Indonesia. And if they win again, they'll be in the Paris Olympics. So that's just a side note for the under-20s. If you're following that, I highly suggest you do, as this should be very good, very, very things are looking up for the U.S. soccer. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I can take away from these two games, and really look forward to see how they do down in Mexico. So if you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Also, tell all your friends to hit the bell notification. Let know when any video is uploaded or posted, as well as to tell all your friends. I'll see you guys on July 4th for both Mexico or in Mexico for the USA's performance, as well as even in Canada's performance on July 5th. So I'll be covering both US and Canada women's performance in the CONCACAF all-important tournament. Stay tuned.